I'm Johnette Alter, and I'm on the board of the Richardson Area Democrats. I love the podcast. I think getting media and information into people's hands is the core solution to most of our problems. Honestly, when I feel a little discouraged, I think about the civil rights movement and the generations it took to get there, and that's what brings me hope and keeps me moving, because we all need to take inspiration from just staying with the mission.
It's Thursday, May 14th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, a rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Progress Texas amplifies progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no paywall podcasts and digital media, we reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's made possible by folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans for Texans. Special thanks this morning to our friends Eric Johnson and Dr. Mark Parker for hosting a terrific gathering of like-minded North Texas folks for us last night at their beautiful home in Dallas. It was terrific to see everyone last night, including State Rep Benton Jones and Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder. Really invigorating to see so many good friends and to make a whole bunch of new ones, too. All of us at Progress Texas appreciate the support very, very much. I'm finding myself unsure if a correction is warranted or not this morning. As we told you earlier this week, the execution of Edward Busby, scheduled for today, was ordered by the federal Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans to be halted by the state of Texas. And I thought that at least for now, that was that, which may have been a tad presumptuous, it appears. Brant Bingaman at the Austin Chronicle says Texas is currently standing at a legal and moral crossroads as state officials continue to push for Busby's execution today, despite a crystal clear directive from the Fifth Circuit, who again, in a rare moment of clarity for that particular court, emphasized in their order the need for constitutional certainty regarding intellectual disability standards, especially with pending U.S. Supreme Court clarifications on IQ assessment and such matters coming down the pike. Still, as we speak, mere hours before the deadline, Texas leadership continues to challenge these federal safeguards, with Attorney General Ken Paxton aggressively demanding that the stay on the Busby execution be vacated. The fact that this state resistance against a federal court order is happening amidst expert consensus is particularly jarring. Even the state's own hired specialists have agreed that Busby meets the criteria for intellectual disability and thus should not be put to death. Paxton and Governor Greg Abbott are now blowing off a federal edict and these clinical findings in favor of vengeance. Constitutional protections and, scientific reality be damned. For now, we continue to wait and watch. Speaking of Governor Abbott, he's also not only defunding the police for cities who question his orders for their law enforcement officers to do the bidding of ICE, and putting a lot of energy into pulling the plug on Muslim social gatherings, perfectly legal gatherings, mind you. The governor is now also very directly coming after the leader of Texas's House Democrats. John Moritz at the Austin American-Statesman says that in an unprecedented legal maneuver, Governor Abbott is pressuring the Texas Supreme Court to forcibly remove Houston State Rep and State House Minority Leader Gene Wu from office, citing Wu's leadership during last year's quorum break. While Wu has already paid over $8,000 in fines from his personal funds, Abbott is pursuing a more drastic dereliction of duty claim, arguing that the quorum break constituted an abdication of office. This is a novel and significant escalation in the weaponization of the judiciary for partisan maneuvers. And Wu's defense maintains that the right to break quorum is an implicit constitutional check on the majority, and that the governor lacks the legal standing to police the House. So once again, we await the wisdom of the all-Republican-appointed Texas Supreme Court in a matter of potentially monumental precedent for the options available for future minority caucuses in Texas. We wait and watch on that as well. One thing we've learned here at Progress Texas is that even amidst an apparent progressive awakening underway, we never underestimate the silliness to be found on the far right in Texas. And today's example is reporting from Rima Castillo at the San Antonio Express-News that Texas led the nation in formal complaints to the FCC during and immediately after Bad Bunny's record-breaking Super Bowl halftime show back in February. That performance drew a staggering global viewership of almost 4.25 billion viewers. But here in Texas, thousands of football fans were pointedly displeased, reacting with hostility towards the Spanish language broadcast and its inclusive choreography. The complaints were commonly about supposed violations of decency, either in the language, which clearly many didn't understand, and that was plenty, or the choreography and costuming, which was quite right in line with current cultural standards. The FCC found no violations, noting that all of Bad Bunny's lyrics had been vetted for broadcast standards and had been appropriately delivered as such. Clearly, there are a great many Texans out there who see any celebration of any culture but their own as an attack on themselves personally, which is super sad when you think about it. Myself, I mostly didn't understand the lyrics either, and I loved every second of it. Sticking with football for one more here, and you may have heard the growing discussion around the idea that with the recent Calais decision at the U.S. Supreme Court and the immediate and almost frantic moves by several southern states to undermine the voting power of their communities of color via hasty redistricting efforts, that athletes of color who play for the flagship colleges of the South, specifically football and specifically within the SEC, might possess a high degree of power to respond politically in this moment. The discussion becomes one of collective opportunity and responsibility, and to what degree young athletes in this situation are either empowered or obligated to exercise that power. I'd refer you as a starting point in that discussion to a piece written by Stephen Gaither, a prominent sports journalist known for his extensive coverage of historically black colleges and universities, serving as a primary writer and editor for HBCU Game Day, in which he writes on the burgeoning movement calling for black athletes to boycott the SEC, a conference that serves as both a cultural powerhouse and a massive economic engine in states and for their flagship universities, including Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and yes, Texas. A massive payday fueled largely by black talent. Gaither writes that these institutions, which of course were once known for their resistance to student body integration, now profit immensely from the very communities whose political power is being contested and undermined all over again. A disconnect recently highlighted by LSU coach Lane Kiffin's blunt comments regarding the racial and cultural hurdles of recruiting at schools with deep Confederate ties, specifically at his former employer, Ole Miss. Comments for which he has since apologized. The knee-jerk opposition to all of this is a call to keep politics out of sports. But Gaither believes that the history of the SEC makes such neutrality or separation impossible. There is nothing wrong or inappropriate about athletes recognizing that their physical labor and cultural capital are inextricably linked to the political health of their home states, states that are now actively, wantonly seeking to undercut the political power of the majority of those athletes based upon the color of their skin. Whether or not there is an obligation for them to stand up remains the topic of debate, as it has been for any and all groups of Americans facing a conflict between the demand for their skills and service and the denial of their rights in our democracy. Super important and powerful read from Stephen Gaither at HBCU Game Day. Find that in the show notes. The statewide primary runoff elections are scheduled for May 26th, with early voting starting on May 18th, next Monday. See our carefully crafted GoVoteTexas.org for everything you need to know about voting in Texas. And there's a nice online tool from the Texas Tribune that shows you exactly who will be on your runoff ballot based on your address and party. Both of those are linked in the show notes. We have not one but two live events on the calendar right now in both Dallas and the Houston area. First, Progress Texas will be hosting a live podcast in Cypress next week. Come join us in Northwest Harris County as we do a first 6 months check-in with the Cy-Fair ISD school board members who made national news last year when they beat back the Christian Nationalists. Be sure to sign up on the Progress Texas event page and join us on Wednesday evening, May 20th at Creekwood Grill in Cypress. This event is free thanks to our sponsors Sean Finney, the Honorable Leslie Briones, and Otis Evigaro. And we're getting ready for our 16th anniversary celebration in Dallas with drinks, light bites, and a fun review of the highlights of our successes over the last few years. Save that date, which is Tuesday, June 16th, and see the link in the show notes to reserve your spot. Our good friends Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Alex Andrade, the Honorable Dick Levine, Nancy Sanders, Doug Jones, the Honorable Bill Peterson, and Mark Yagjian are among the supporters of our 16th anniversary shindig, and we appreciate all of you very much. Our live events are a major way we keep doing what we do, and by sponsoring and attending, you're helping Progress Texas continue our important work during this crucial election year. Learn how to support and join us live at ProgressTexas.org. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, May 14th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. When lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, your support for fact-based reporting is needed and appreciated. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again right here tomorrow morning.